The Gorge is a 2025 American action horror romance monster film. It's a blended film to say the least. This smoothie is directed by Scott Derrickson and written by Zach Dean. It follows the tale of two government-hired mercs that must occupy towers on the edge of a gorge. Below them lies a thick fog, and below that, something stirs wanting to claw its way up.
What the hell is that?
That is what we call the Hollow Men.
Our operatives will find danger, mystery, conspiracy, and romance in this tale. And I'll just be hoping to make sure all these genres doesn't result in a confused mess that leaves me wanting harder than being midway through a brothel appointment when someone pulls the fire alarm. This is The Gorge. Today's tale starts by showing off our protagonist. Anya Taylor-Joy plays Drasa, an IRL Minecraft enthusiast who doubles as an assassin. The other half of our duo is Levi, played by Miles Teller, who enjoys long sits on the beach. Well, hey, they both seem to have open schedules, so Bartholomew, played by, and to my surprise, Sigourney Weaver, offers them a job. One problem is that while Levi is alone and near blowing his brains out, Drasa has someone.
I'm going to do it myself. Assuming I'm not already dead, of course.
Well, that's a self-solving problem right there. Now, sure, this whole thing is covered in spooks, but it's so secret that not only does he need to be drugged, not only does he need to be parachuted in, but he also has to travel across rugged terrain, across multiple days, by foot. I get they want to keep it secret, but with the location known by both East and West, why not just chopper them in and out? No one is seriously questioning one helicopter when two major superpowers are, to some extent, backing it. At least there's a friendly face at the end of it all.
At long last, my sweet prince has come.
JD, played by Soap Dirisu. He's here to welcome Levi to his Ritz suite.
So I'm the relief.
Affirmative. Look, we'll get a drink, and I'll explain everything.
The Western Tower, opposite the fittingly named Eastern Tower, stocked with food, ammo, guarding, cloakers from satellites, which makes the lack of a chopper insertion even more questionable, and it even comes with a suicide option, or something, a little secret for later. Just follow the short list of chores and all's good.
Potato vodka. The stills in the armory.
That's good.
Save for that. So what even are they guarding?
What the hell is that?
Well, that's terrifying, but at least I didn't hear.
Fetch me their souls!
So JD is cut loose. Literally. I have no clue how he so easily managed to cut that with a knife. It's a small problem, so unlike JD, I don't think I'm gonna have a falling out. So life goes on, and like a 7 Days to Die base, you need to maintain the armaments. At least there's a hell of a view. We never actually see Draza's predecessor, but we do see that telling a rugged man and a hot Eastern European woman not to conversate isn't going to work. So the relationship starts off with shooting at each other, or well, bottles, and that's all good, but I really wouldn't push my luck. Yes, you're both sharpshooters, magnificent, but those are holographic sights, something that I don't think really have the magnification needed for that range. Luckily, something is much closer to shoot at, the Hollow Men, who we don't get the most threatening look at here, as they are relatively easy to blast back down into the gorge. Even pistol rounds are able to give them the finer points of being hollow. So months go by, we watch them do their rounds, spot some straight up sci-fi tech, make mock snowmen play chess, and Drasa weeps come Valentine's Day. I'm going to be honest, I've seen complaints that this film is unbalanced, but I rather enjoy the relationship between these two. They haven't even really exchanged words at all by this point, but I'm believing the bond they're forming. So through the power of love, Levi sets out constructing a rocket-propelled grapple hook. So with a little fire control on Draza's side, we watch Levi groom himself, snag some flowers, and throw himself across the gorge. Or at least halfway. Ladies, this is the kind of effort that means you're putting out on that first date. But who is rizzing who?
You know what I keep thinking about night after night while I sit over there on that platform?
How are you gonna get them my pants?
So after a night of romance, our boy here heads back to his side. Slight problem. No! And damn, that poetry, dancing, and lovemaking must have been next level, because Draza wastes no time in going in after Levi, who finds himself in a bad situation, only to save himself into an even worse situation. Luckily, Draza arrives in the nick of time. A brief moment of respite is all they get as the cavalry arrives, and it's not friendly. Managing to beat off this nightmare, they discover it's the lost battalion sent into the Gorge. Even worse is that the auto sender Draza brought was lost during her initial landing. They do manage to find a town obscured in fog. At least it's not Silent Hill. Taking shelter in a nearby church, let me take a moment to say that after years of playing co-op shooters, I really enjoy watching these two navigate the Gorge. Also, we got skull spiders. Anyone remember that trend back in the early 2010s with indie horror games having skull spiders? I remember. The arrival of more hollow men means this congregation is getting crowded. Time to put the hole in holy.
Making a hole!
Reaching the Gorge wall, they find a strange bunker, and inside is some clearly labeled answers. Seems that while Oppenheimer was tinkering with nuclear, the scientists here were tinkering with a more biological weapon, in a facility clearly not prepared for earthquakes. Luckily, being inside the Gorge, it contained the spread of the toxin, which our duo believes won't affect them too much if they limit their exposure. What's more is the discovery of this whole thing being handled by paramilitary. The only reason this Gorge isn't being purged is because the effects are being studied, hence the sci-fi drone from earlier. Also, hey, that suicide option, it's good up to just over 4 kilometers. Plus, we have another surprise when the ammo pack goes missing.
My gear pack. I left it here. It has all the ammo in it.
Popping smoke to make visibility mutually sucky, they move out. Retrieving the bag, Dross's leg is bound and she's dragged off. While the visual is sick, she gets the shit beaten out of her. Waking up in captivity, she manages to free herself and desperately fight back. It's a pretty solid fight, but it's clear she isn't scoring a kill. Until an assist from Levi comes in, blasting the beast dead. A beast he discovers is the first and original Tower Guardian. This is my sword now. One creepy as all hell scene of avoiding those tentacles from Devil May Cry, and our duo locates some functioning vehicles, complete with winches and surprisingly still good fuel. I'll blame that on the chemicals turning the frogs gay. You know, it's only now I realize this has basically been 2 guardsmen just navigating the gardens of Nurgle. Anyways, cool ass fight scene with them desperately climbing the Gorge wall. I think my only complaint is that the Hollow Men are CGI. Well, I'm assuming they had stuntmen in green screen suits. I would have liked if they were dudes in suits complemented with CGI. They still look cool and the combat is fun. Now safely at the Eastern Tower, it's discovered the Russians had a grappling hook stocked as well as other amenities.
I also make better vodka.
Realize they need to self-isolate, they also realize they will simply be killed after their shift ends. So planning on a rendezvous, Levi radios in on his radio check. Now with the trouble coming in via chopper, so you can chopper in! Our duo flees, pursued by drones, while Bartholomew investigates the Western Tower. Just in time for some well-placed explosives to disable the cloakers and Stray Dog to be initiated. With Levi's fate unknown, we follow Drossa, who self-isolates for several days, eventually finding herself free of mutation. Now in France, she finally meets back up with Levi and the two embrace. A heartwarming ending for a damn feel-good film. Having a premiere in Los Angeles on February 13th, 2025 at AMC exclusively, the film would launch on Apple Plus February 14th, 2025. The film managed to become the streaming service's largest movie launch in its history so far. Most countries kept the name, while Brazil had Between Mountains. Italy had Mysteries from the Depth, which sounds like an XCOM expansion. Filming began in March of 2023. The film was shot at the Roma River in Norway for exterior gorge shots, as well as forest scenes. The interior of the towers were crafted stages, and Llandudno in Wales was used for France. Effects were handled by the company Framestore alongside VFX supervisor Eric Norby. The movie was working with somewhere between 50 and 70 million USD, which I assume it managed to recoup given its large reception on streaming. While the segments were in the script before their casting, the chess match mirrored Joy's role in The Queen's Gambit from 2020, meanwhile the drums were for Teller, who was in the film Whiplash. So The Gorge is a film attempting to wear many hats. It starts out as a thriller before becoming a romance plot, then literally dropping into horror, and finally coming full circle back to thriller. Some could and have looked at this film calling it bloated or lacking direction. I disagree, as I rather enjoyed the film. I bought the relationship, and it truly did make me want to see our dynamic duo make it out. The film actually had me on the edge of my seat when I thought it would pull a sacrifice or shocking death on one of our protagonists. I will say the film does feel like a B-movie that you'd find at a rental store late at night on the Sci-Fi Channel way back in the day. I think that's why I'm so fond of it. It's a fun and well put together mashup that doesn't truly fail at any of them. I will say I found the Gorge segment a bit underwhelming. It's a great sequence, and where the action hits its highest notes. I suppose I simply wanted a bit more oddities down there. The film has some cool creatures and segments, though they are largely CGI with very little practical monsters. Now, the designs are inspired by the work of Polish painter Wisław Pasinki. That's cool, and again, I don't hate the segments. I only wish they had gone farther with it. I mean, look at some of this artwork. Still, it's an excellent and fun film that manages to nail multiple bases. If you're looking for a genuinely killer film that reminds of the good old days, then give this a watch. It may not be gorging, but it's nice to get a snack.
Thank you for your service.